Jared Anderson stops Jeremiah Karpency in round two. Karpency was down in the first and second rounds, I think both times from body shots. Jared Anderson is a very talented young heavyweight. He reminds me a lot stylistically of Jerome Ennis, who I'm going to talk about in a separate video. And they're around the same age, I believe. Jared Anderson, we just check out his BoxRec page here. He's 21 years of age. And Jerome Ennis is, where are we at? 23 years of age. So very similar in age, very similar styles. One, of course, is a welterweight, and Jared Anderson is a heavyweight. So a couple times in previous videos, I've actually got their names mixed up. That's how much they remind me of each other. Now, Jared Anderson, for this fight, weighed 251 pounds. Jeremiah Karpency, 226. Because I've seen some people say that Anderson maybe is a bit small for a heavyweight because he's only 6'4", 78.5-inch reach. Well, what I would say to that is, if he's good enough, he's big enough. I think 6'4" in an era where, what's the average height of a heavyweight? 6'5", 6'6"? And I'm talking about the top heavyweights. And maybe it's not even that high, right? I'm just thinking about the likes of the Tyson Furies and the Anthony Joshuas, Philip Hrgovic, people like that coming up. I haven't done the mathematics, the calculations to tell you exactly what the average is. But as far as I'm concerned, 6'4" is plenty tall enough. I mean, Mike Tyson was world heavyweight champion at a time when the average heavyweight was maybe 6'3", and Mike Tyson's 5'10". You can look back through history. Now, Jared Anderson isn't that kind of fighter. He's not a pressure fighter. He's not a guy who specializes in getting on the inside against taller men, but he's not that much shorter than AJ. There's only 2 inches, right? Tyson Fury, there's a bit more there, but bottom line is, I don't think being 6'4" is some big handicap in today's heavyweight division. Jared Anderson has tremendous coordination, athleticism, a wicked jab. Obviously, he's still fighting cream puffs at the moment. They haven't put him in there against anybody with a pulse yet. So there are lots of questions to be answered for Jared Anderson. I mean, Jeremiah Karpency, who comes from a boxing family, I remember his brother, Tommy Karpency, fought Adonis Stevenson, for example. But Karpency turned up for a paycheck, and Jared Anderson even said that after the fight. He didn't turn up to actually really give it a go. And unless or until we see him in there against somebody who actually will give it a go, then we're not going to know about the intangibles. We're not going to know about his heart. We're not going to know about his boxing IQ. Yeah, his athleticism looks great. His coordination, balance, everything looks fantastic. But until you test all of that, including defense, against people who have a much better offense than these cream puffs he's fighting, then we won't really know where he's at and how good he actually is. We also need to see about his chin, his stamina, and so on. But just going off the eye test from his first 9 fights now, all by knockout, there seems to be tremendous potential there. Certainly when it comes to his physical gifts, tremendous potential. The balance, from what I can see so far, looks like very good punching power. The way he throws his jab, his technique is all very impressive. But at this point, going into his 10th fight, his next fight will be, they are going to need to put him in there against some tougher journeymen. Again, he's only a young guy, but I always tell people, it's not really about age, it's about experience. And speaking of experience, I mean, I don't want to dismiss age completely, but experience matters more than age. That's what I will say. And if we look at some of his amateur highlights here, what we got? National Championship final, he won that back in 2018. Where are we at again? Won it as well in 2017. So he's won the Nationals several times as an amateur. Has he done anything internationally as an amateur? I'm not sure, because BoxRec doesn't give a comprehensive or doesn't often have a comprehensive record of somebody's amateur career, nowhere near as comprehensive as they are with their pro careers. So any of you who follow Jared Anderson in the amateurs, let me know. Did he have any kind of serious senior international amateur experience? Not that he needs to go to the top in a professional game. I mean, Mike Tyson, for example, as a senior, never really did much in the amateurs. He didn't manage to qualify for the '84 Olympics. He was beaten by Henry Tillman in the qualifiers and in the box offs. So he never got to go to the Olympics, and he turned pro after that. Jared Anderson, I don't know his story with regards to his amateur career, but there's plenty of questions to be asked. 21 years of age, I'd like to see a step up to somebody who can at least offer more stubborn resistance. Even if they're not going to come to really go for it and try and win the fight, someone who has a bit more pride and is a bit more of a tough guy than a Jeremiah Karpency. To be fair, Kingsley eBay, I think they were pronouncing it eBay, he did come to give it a go, but he was horribly, horribly outmatched. eBay, 276 pounds, very big muscular guy, this individual, but he did not have the skill, the speed, the balance, or anything that Jared Anderson had, and he couldn't really defend himself very well. He was just getting hit far too easily. Some of these journeymen, these tougher journeymen, these experienced journeymen, they know how to defend themselves. They're going to make it difficult for you to be able to hit them clean. Is it too early in Jared Anderson's career to put him in with someone like a Marius Wack? You know, I'd like to see that, to be honest with you. Marius Wack, his 10th pro fight, it's certainly earlier than most people are put in with someone like a Marius Wack, but his talent level may warrant that. When someone has a certain amount of talent, when they're gifted, and he has the swagger, right? He seems to have the confidence. If they could put him maybe in an 8-rounder against Marius Wack, I think that's something he could win. Perhaps a 10-rounder is more of a risk than his team would want to take, or a 12-rounder, but an 8-rounder against Marius Wack, if they pay him enough money, I think would be a good measuring stick to see where Jared Anderson is at and see how quickly they can move him. Because there seems to be this thing among boxing fans and even in the boxing fraternity that you need to reach a certain age before you're ready for championship fights. I mean, this is a nonsense. Have people forgotten that Muhammad Ali was 22 when he beat Sonny Liston? Floyd Patterson was 21 when he won the world heavyweight title. Mike Tyson was 20. But now all of a sudden, let's give him 4 or 5 years before he fights for a world title. Why? Why can't we see young heavyweight champions anymore? You don't have to be touching 30 by the time they fight for a world title. If you're good enough, the age shouldn't be an issue. The guy's clearly had a decent number of amateur fights, right? Fought in the Nationals several times. And fighting in the Nationals in America is a lot different than fighting in the ABA, national ABAs in the UK. Very different, because there's a much larger talent pool in America. Now you're going to have to fight a lot more people and so on. You know, the circuit is much bigger in America. Now, obviously, we have the 2 heavyweight champions of the world at the moment, but I don't know. I don't think the depth of talent in the amateur system in the UK is as much as it is in America. I think a lot of the amateur heavyweights in America do end up going into other sports and stuff like that, because boxing is definitely a more difficult road if you're looking to get paid and get paid soon. It's a lot more difficult to go down that road than it is to go into the NBA or the NFL and so on. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Jared Anderson, his performance against Jeremiah Karpency, and how you'd like to see his career progress from here, who you'd like to see him fight next, and so on. But he put in a good performance. We just need to see the competition level stepped up so we can learn more about him. And personally, if they can put him in with a Marius Wack and he does a job on Wack, I'd like to see him fighting 10 rounders within the next year. And then maybe back end of 2022, early 2023, I'd like to see this guy in title contention. That's if he can pass all the steps along the way. If he can pass all those steps, continues winning, step him up each time, then world titles in 2023 for sure. Perhaps he wants world titles sooner. And if that's the case, I hope he gets there. Let me know what you think, people. Come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide range of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&A sessions, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got a Discord server where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. There's no contract, no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.